here since 1970, so between then and today, of course, it has changed. When I first came here as a very young German, Israel and Germany had only, for 5 years, they had diplomatic relations. And it seemed I looked quite exotic because there were not many young Germans coming here, being married to an Israeli, learning Hebrew, and starting to work here. So there were many questions, and all the time questions about if I'm Jewish or not, and how comes that a young German comes to Israel. There were almost no young German journalists here. And now there are so many. Now it's so normal, and they all speak Hebrew. Many of them are married here, and so it's totally different. Israel has always been a focus of German reporting, of course, because of our history. Israel was always interesting. It was looked upon very sympathetically, because at the beginning, look, when I first came here, I came here first in 1965 for a visit, but even after 70, it was still a different country. And the conflict with the Palestinians really started much later. My family in Germany was relatively special because my mother was born in Spain. My big family, like every other German family, was normal, Nazi. My uncles were in the Wehrmacht, or others were professors who wrote too much during the Third Reich, and I'm from a very normal German family. But my immediate family liked my future husband. My mother came to visit very often because for her Israel was, people look the same like in Spain, and she found people who spoke Spanish and others who spoke German, and even Yiddish she understood. I think that our parents' generation, that means also our teachers and our professors at the university, those who took part in all this, they never really understood. And even Holocaust, they didn't say, I think there was no word in German for that, but what happened to the Jews? Well, I never dreamed that I would, I never met Jews when I was young in Berlin. And the first real Jew I met, I think, was when I was at the university in Vienna, and I met an Israeli student. And that's the man I'm married to. I had a professor I studied German literature and drama. And my drama, theater science it was called, professor had been writing too much during the Third Reich, really anti-Semitic things against Jewish directors and Jewish actors in the 40s. And when he was re-established at the Free University in Berlin, and when I told him that I have an Israeli boyfriend, and he said, why don't you want to write your MA about an Israeli subject? Why don't you write for me a thesis about the history and the present situation of the theater in Israel? Why don't you go to Israel and start to write your MA there? And I found that a very good idea. It was a good idea for me, it was apparently also a good idea for him, because then he really, after I had written it and it was published, he was boasting that he had sent a student of his to Israel and write about Israeli theater. And I was invited for a United Nations tour, which visited several countries. Syria was the last, and I was, until the last moment, I was afraid not to get a visa, because I'm living here, I was stationed here, I got the visa, I was there, and then I really fell in love with the places. Syria is beautiful. And the people were so nice and friendly and soft-spoken and kind that I was really amazed. And most of the time they said, hopefully there's going to be peace between our countries, and hopefully we will not have to send our children again into war. But look, it's many years ago, and in the meantime I know that Israeli prime ministers have tried, 4 different prime ministers have already tried to make peace with Syria, relatively successfully. They never finished the job. And every time the Israeli population was very much enthusiastic about the idea, and I remember that last time when Barak tried to finish the job and then didn't finish it, there were travel agencies in Tel Aviv who already made lists for people who wanted to put their names on it for the first trips to Damascus and to Aleppo, Halab, and to visit the sites and the excavations and museums. So I guess Israeli public opinion is very easy to change if you use the means of information, and if the government is convinced that this should be done, then the Israeli population will follow suit, and also the Syrians. I think that on both sides they are ready, they're for sure not ready for peace. And people are getting scared, and maybe it's a preparation by Olmert to tell the people, don't be scared, we are opening negotiations with them. Just to cover himself, I don't know. Because I think the Syrians, I've heard that from many people, in the framework of Alon Liel and Suleiman, and people who have been recently in Syria, I'm afraid for the future, because things in the area are not getting better, and the situation has become more and more complicated. It could have been easier if politicians and people would have realized earlier that you can solve problems with, not with wars, but for example with announcing that everybody is ready to talk to everyone. Now this guilt of saying we are not talking is on both sides. But at the moment it disturbs me a little bit more here, because Israel once has been different. I still remember that Israel was all the time waiting for Arab countries to stretch out their hand for peace with Israel. And when Sadat did it, Israel was overwhelmed, and of course a peace came out of it. And now, for me, for my taste, it has happened too often that the Arab world, if it's Saudi in 2002 or again, has offered very attractive offers, and Israel says, no, we are not talking to this one, and on principle we are not talking to that one. And I think, well, maybe it's a European naivety still, but I think that one should always, as a politician, one should say, I am ready to talk to everyone. I'm not ready to give in to everything, but I'm ready to sit down with everyone, even Hamas, Hezbollah, everyone. We have lots of things to exchange if we find common ground.